Good evening. On behalf of the governing body of the City of Passaic, we welcome you to the February 6, 2024 City Council meeting. In accordance with Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by resolution of the Municipal Council adopted on June 13, 2023, setting forth the schedule of regular meetings for the year 2023-2024. Said notice was published and posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board by the Office of the City Clerk. Please be further advised this public meeting will be conducted in person. The Zoom stream provided is for viewing only and is offered to the public as a convenience. On January 2024, public notice and Zoom instructions for this meeting were published in the Herald News and posted on the City of Passaic website, www.cityofpassaic.com, council agendas. Instructions are also available on the last page of this agenda. Please be guided accordingly.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Councilman Monk, I believe, will be joining us via Zoom.
Councilman Love,
Present.
Councilwoman Mello,
Present.
Councilman Schwartz,
Present.
Councilman Garcia,
Councilman Garcia will, I
Please.
believe, be joining us by Zoom.
and Council President Scheer.
Present. Should we all please rise?
Heavenly Father, we want to thank you, Lord, for allowing us to meet this evening. We ask you to please guide us in the decisions that will take place this evening. In your beloved name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council President, if I may,
Mr. Mayor.
Renee, who's always with us with IT, his grandmother passed away. That's why he's not with us today. If we can just hold a moment of silence. I know it's been difficult.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if the council can impose on your good offices to extend to his family. our
Yes, from the
condolences.
council, I will.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are at home, for those of you who are joining us physically in City Council chambers, welcome to our meeting. If you do not have a copy of our agenda, please feel free to go on the internet to the city's webpage. There you will find all of the information that has been provided to the council by the administration, including reports, resolutions, ordinances, communications, etc. Again, everything that the council received is available to you. We hope you'll take advantage of that. We are on Roman numeral 4 of our agenda, Mayor's report. Mayor, thank you again for being here as always.
Thank you, Council President, members of the City Council, and residents, as well as department heads that are all joining us. I want to begin by sharing that on Saturday, January 27th, Passaic had a family festival with First Lady Tammy Murphy at school number 23, which is also known as the Dayton Avenue Educational Complex. And at this family festival, over 1,500 people attended this event, which had more than 45 organizations that provided a variety of services and resources for, excuse me, for expectant and new moms and families, including healthcare, housing support, food assistance, childcare, COVID vaccines, New Jersey motor vehicles, commission services. Representatives were there from New Jersey Assembly, from our Assemblyman Chair's 36th Legislative Office, as well as different departments from the City of Passaic and the Board of Education. It was a huge success, and many families were served. So we're appreciative for this. As well as on Tuesday, January 30th, I joined the city clerk, Ms. Weatherly Frias, and we handed out civic engagement awards at a ceremony at Passaic High School Auditorium. These certificates recognize the first high school students who completed the Board of Elections training program to become poll workers. Just to remind individuals, the City of Passaic developed a pilot program working with our clerk and the Board of Elections in the county with the approval of the state to allow high school students to work the elections. This provided us with an opportunity to meet a gap because there was a deficit in terms of individuals that were available to work elections. We were relying so heavily on individuals coming from other municipalities to work the elections in Passaic. Unfortunately, in the general elections, They were opting to work in their own cities, so our clerk did not have enough individuals to work. So we met and brainstormed and came up with an idea to recruit our young people, hoping to encourage them to be more civically engaged, to participate in this most sacred and wonderful democratic process of voting. We also thought with the advancement of the new voting screens, these smart screens, many of our senior citizens, as well as some elected officials and Commissioner McNair don't know how to deal with technology. So, oh, I didn't see you there, Commissioner McNair, I'm sorry. So,
I was included in several of those groups.
many of us, but having the high school
Diane
student,
McNair, but everyone else has got it.
but having the high school students there to try to navigate a lot of these smart devices, it was extremely beneficial, and many of the young people came out just to see some of their fellow students working and came out and voted. So we were very excited to be the very first city to do this program as a pilot program, and we're enthusiastically optimistic that many municipalities will jump on. I think our clerk received messages from other municipalities that they're interested in emulating or following in our footsteps because we were so successful. And I think we gave out, Madam Clerk, if I may impose upon you, how many certificates did we give out that day? 43. And out of the 43, how many agreed to return for the next election and work? Now, I also want to share that on behalf of the city clerk, she did bring Jersey Mike sandwiches to everyone. And I'm not saying that's the reason why they wanted to work, but apparently the students said they were fed quite well during the election times. But again, I will reiterate, I think it's beneficial to encourage our youth, and also our youth, they bring a certain amount of enthusiasm and warmth. And when people come to vote, you want to be encouraged. You don't want to be turned away. You want individuals that want to go the extra mile and say, hey, I didn't see your name here. Let me check with the clerk. Let me make sure, because we want everyone who is eligible to be able to vote. And we were so appreciative of the young people, as well as those with experience that work every election. So I think for the first time, we had just enough, and we look forward to having enough individuals for every election. I also want to take this opportunity to highlight the NAACP. On February 3rd, they held the Black History Month ceremony and flag raising with President Sherry Greer, as well as speakers Councilman Terrence Love. Also, there was Reverend Pastor Devin from I think it's Mount Zion. Williams Chapel. Thank you, Commissioner McNair. What you lack in technological understanding, you make up for in understanding our city. Also, I wanted to share, I'm gonna mess with her for a bit. She knows why. So, Council President, we had a very successful and well-attended African American History Month event led by the NAACP. There was a wonderful performance by the students of our schools. They sang songs, and I believe the speeches and words that were shared inspired and reminded us to a call of ensuring that we acknowledge not just the contributions of the past, not just obviously the participation in the present of developing and making sure this nation is successful and progresses, but a vision for the future and an acknowledgement of such a wonderful and remarkable group of individuals that have helped to make this nation what it is. So we were very grateful for that. I also wanted to share that some of our upcoming events, February 11th, we will have our 7th annual Super Bowl party for the homeless at Dignity House. Every year, we have wonderful participation from different organizations and youth, and we encourage anyone who wants to participate. The homeless individuals who we often rescue out of extreme temperature conditions on this day, like they often have access to during the week, they'll be able to shower, have their clothes laundered, but on this day, barbers volunteer to give free haircuts at Dignity House. So we're very excited. And then we just watched the Super Bowl, just as you would watch it at home with your family. We provide this opportunity for this organization. I also want to share that on Saturday, February 17th, the Passaic Youth Council will be hosting an open house inviting 8th grade and high school students to join the Passaic Youth Council. Members are able to build their leadership skills, participate in community service projects, and develop their personal growth and harness their skills to become leaders in our community. I also want to share that on February 18th, the Asphalt Art Design Contest will reach its deadline. The City of Passaic has been awarded a grant to transform an intersection with a painted mural and eye-catching curb extensions. The city, alongside Easy Ride, are calling for all artists and groups to create a design and have the chance to win a $3,000 award. Applicants must be over the age of 16 and attend a mandatory informational webinar on February 7th at 7:30 p.m. The deadline for entries, again, is February 18th, 2024. And for more information and contact, you can call Easy Ride at 201-939-4242, 201-939-4242, extension 123. I also wanted to share that our purchasing department is ordering large washer screws to prevent the veteran banners from sliding off. Our purchasing department is ordering large washer screws to prevent the veteran banners from sliding off. To date, we have counted, I think we were at 4 before, we are now at 5 that have fallen from the over 200 that have been up for over a year. And so I know, though that's a small number, we are cognizant that some have fallen, so we're moving forward to having this edition. And then I want to conclude with this morning at 5:30 in the morning, myself and Councilwoman Tanya Mello were at City Hall. We were both here at City Hall live on Univision to discuss the progress of the city, initiatives, respond to surprise questions that they did not tell us they were going to ask. However, we were both on the hot seat, and I was so proud of Councilwoman Mello's responses and her representation of the city council, her most informed responses, retorts, and positions of the progress of our city. She did a fantastic job. The Univision had reached out. They have interviewed Newark's Ross Baraka, Mayor Ross Baraka. They also, Mayor Bowich, and they went to Patterson, to the mayor. They did 5 cities. We were included in it at 5:30 in the morning. And it was a wonderful experience, giving us an opportunity to highlight some of the advancement and progress that we have been able to put forth as a collective body. So thank you, Councilwoman Mello. And I also want to thank the business administrator, as well as our administrative executive assistant upstairs, Sona Patel, and Renee, who unfortunately can't be with us, but coordinated the entire interview and process and location. They highlighted different areas of the city, and we were glad, though some of the images they shared when they spoke of some of the challenges were not images of Passaic, but me and Councilwoman Mello were gracious and didn't point out those inconsistencies, but we were excited to share all the wonderful things that are coming up. Council President, that is the conclusion of my report. If there are any questions from the council, we'd be more than happy to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your in-depth report as always. The banners that had previously fallen down, they were all retrieved. They're all going up or back up already?
Yes, thanks to wonderful and committed residents of the city of Passaic. Some of them have been brought back to City Hall, given to DPW and put back up. But we have found that, especially during storms and sometimes strong winds, a few of them continue to fall. So these new washers will be added as attachments in order to secure these banners and keep them up.
Mayor, I was fascinated as I have been by the proposal which you implemented so incredibly well in terms of using high school kids at the polls.
Yes.
Any problems occur? Any issues occur at all?
Actually, with our city clerk, she confirmed that we had no issues at all. In fact, some of the concerns that we had in previous years we found that we were not faced with the same issues because the young people, again, they were so familiar with the technology. They received the training, and kudos to the clerk's office for our most diligent and efficient training of these young people, but they were able to direct individuals. They followed the instructions they received. If someone wasn't on the list, they were referred to the clerk's office. People were explained who's allowed to vote and who's not allowed to vote. And I think their youthful enthusiasm really helped in terms of not only conveying the right message, but making sure that people understood we're here to facilitate, assist with the process, but that this most sacred process is an independent one. And they were very clear to not cross any lines. And we were grateful to have the young people involved.
This was the first time this was done?
It was. So here in our area, we were researching, again, I'll point to the fact that we were facing an issue, a problem where we didn't have poll workers. We put it out online. We put flyers up at different places, ShopRite, houses of worship. We send mailers out through the schools. Then we met and said, how can we resolve this? It isn't the money. I think they raised the salary. How much were they getting paid a day? $300 at that point. I know it was a lot of money because Councilman Dr. Terrence Love and Councilwoman Maritza Colon Montaner said, can we work it? And we were like, no, we know you read the raises online, but no, you couldn't work it.
They tried to have the hot lunch also.
Yes, they were like, is it possible for us to work the election? We were like, no, you're on the ballot this year, you can't. But all jokes aside, we decided what was the age group? We asked that. We were wondering why we didn't get more people. Technically, you can work it at 16. Most counties allow at 18, and we realized we have 18-year-olds in the high school. We're constantly telling them to vote. Could they work it as a work program for the school, get paid? And many of them take civic engagement studies in the high school. Could this be an extension of their coursework? So we checked it, we vetted it with the county. We reached out to the college, the community college, to see if they could earn college credits for it. And we were excited that they came back and said, this is innovative, great, and we see it consistent with the law. So we were able to work together to come up with this plan, again, with the city clerk, reaching out to the council, many department heads, and together we came up with a solution that put us at the forefront of solving an issue that we've seen many municipalities face, especially when it comes to elections.
Extraordinarily thoughtful and innovative, and taking that jump that so many others would never consider. Really, just an amazing thing. Questions for the mayor?
Yeah, just a comment. I think by doing that, it also combat the other situation. You said lack of volunteers. I think that's one of them, but also qualified volunteers, right? Because there is a level of reading, writing, and understanding what you're doing with those instructions, because the city can be in a lot of trouble if the machines are not broken down correctly and documented. So I think that alleviated us from a lot of that situation with having kids right out of our own school who we know are very proficient in their own right. So I just think it was a great idea.
And Councilman, you bring up a good point about the youth and the students. One of the issues, and the clerk can speak to it, when individuals were coming from other municipalities, and we were grateful when they were working here, the challenge would be, and I'll give you an example, if someone said, my name's not on the list, and they would go, well, where do you live? Summer Street. If you didn't have a point of reference because you don't know the area, you would go, well, you're just not on the list, and that person may not vote. Whereas our youth that are familiar with the city would go, well, you probably vote at number 7 school. Have you checked there? Let's call the clerk and see where your name is. That extra step is the difference between someone deciding I'm gonna go home or going, oh, thank you for informing me where my name would be found. Because some people move and then they don't update the address, so they end up staying at their old polling sites, and they'll think they were removed, but they weren't removed. They just have to go to the old polling site, vote provisionally, or go to the clerk's office. The fact that the youth were so willing to give that additional information, that helped out a lot.
Excellent.
If I may,
Councilwoman.
also another thing.
Excuse me, Councilwoman, first, forgive me. Was that 5:30 a.m.?
Where's my 38?
When you came in this
When
morning,
you came in,
Oh, yes.
please forgive her. We've been up since 4 this morning trying to. So,
Well,
I still have a
Did
lesson.
you get a bonus and not tell us?
No, you have to understand, I have a 3-year-old, so I'm usually up at that hour anyway, so.
well, with the 3-year-old.
Oh, yeah, not outside the house. No, absolutely.
I will add, there's not a lot of difference with hanging out with a 3-year-old and hanging out with the mayor at 5:30. There's a lot. I was crying about the cold. I was hungry. There's a lot of similarities. Go ahead.
If there are no other remarks,
Just
Council.
want to comment on that, and something that we've also addressed is to engage our youth, because one of the things that we usually say, our youth is not coming out to vote. I think this is the perfect bridge to kind of make that connection, to engage them, because now they're involved, and they also, remember, they spread the word, and they go home and speak to their parents and also incentivize their family members to come out and vote. So I think that's a great initiative. So thank you again.
Thank you, ma'am. With the council's permission, Roman numeral 5 of our agenda or minutes of the November 9, 2023 City Council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented by the clerk? Seeing no lights at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept the minutes of November 9 as presented by the clerk?
So moved.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Okay. Yes. You hear me?
Councilman- Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Councilman Love,
Oh.
we've heard you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. We're up to Roman numeral 6 of our agenda, hearing of citizens. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-1 et sec, the council opens every public meeting for comments of the public. However, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of a public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation at any meeting. Therefore, please be advised that the council will not entertain any comments from persons who communicate obscene material, make statements which are considered bias intimidation, in which a person intends to intimidate any individual or group because of race, color, religion, gender, handicap, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or makes comments intending to harass or speak any offensive language. The person who makes these statements will relinquish their allotted 5 minutes for public discussion. If you do not have the pleasure to be in council chambers, and in fact, we changed that law. If you are at home, we hope if you've had any questions, you've submitted them to the clerk already. If you have, they will be read and answered publicly. If you have not, we respectfully remind you that we will only entertain questions from the floor in city council chambers. Is there anyone who would like to address the council, please? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council President. Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Yosef Wolf. I live on 71 Spring Street. I wanted to ask the council if they can advise. There is a public school on Van Houten, on the corner of Van Houten and Waverly in Passaic. And there is no parking in front of the school during school hours. Van Houten Avenue is a very busy street for most of the day. At the hours of between 7:30 and 8:10, and when it's pickup time later around 3 o'clock, it's very, very difficult to traverse the street. There's people trying to cross the street. There's 2 crossing guards, and traffic, including trucks, buses, and vehicles, get backed up. And my concern is that even though no one's allowed to park in front of the school, it seems that some employees of the school are allowed to park in front of the school. And that hinders drop-off and pickup in a safe manner for the parents, and it really obstructs traffic that's trying to flow down Van Houten Avenue. I want to know how the school has a right to block off parking, but then allow their teachers or employees to park on a public street, while in front of any private residence or any institution in the city, the owners of that institution or that house cannot block off parking. I think parking should be blocked off for the parents to drop off. There's an entrance right there on Van Houten. And I think it's a safety issue. I think there's people turning around cars. It's extreme bottleneck at those hours. I want to hear about that if that's possible. I also wanted to ask the city council and the mayor, and really, if it's possible, tinted windows in the city of Passaic. Tinted windows are from my understanding, unless you're have an issue with sunlight, they're illegal on the front windows and on the windshield. But in the city of Passaic, there is a plethora. It's inundated with vehicles that have tinted windows. I think it's a safety issue. I think it's a quality of life issue. You see them all over. It's almost like a very, very, very big minority of the cars in Passaic have tinted windows. And I'm wondering if the city police, which are allowed to pull someone over for having tinted windows, if they care to enforce this, I think it's a real safety issue. That's all for tonight. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, sir. We will be in touch with the police chief to see if there's any kind of improving the area by the public school. There is no question that when schools are dismissed in Passaic City, it is a mess. But then again, it's a mess in any urban area when schools get dismissed. I don't want to say we're special or different. I don't want to say that we should not make an attempt to correct it. We should, and we will. How successful we'll be realistically is another story. In terms of tinted windows, you're absolutely correct, sir. This is a state issue, not a local issue. And unfortunately, like most other police departments, it is a low priority. But certainly there's no reason why conversations can't be held with the police chief and with his officers in terms of getting the office to be more sensitive to the issue. Would anyone else like to address the council at this time? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Ari Mack, 187 Howard. As I was coming down here, I come down via bus, and there's numerous cars parked by bus stations ever since for a long time, and whether or not person is waiting for a bus, you can't see the bus. You have to go inside the street in order to see that bus. There's numerous parking throughout the entire city of Passaic, and there's cars parked by the bus stations, and it's illegal. And I'm wondering if the city can do something about it, because it's really, really frustrating for a lot of residents, and whether or not they're from this city or coming to this city and working in our city to see their buses. So if we can get something done and force the cars to be out of those spots, because it's really a safety hazard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, something that we can try to look at. Anyone else like to address the council? Oh, ma'am, forgive me, I didn't see you, please.
Brenda Wheeler, 17 Vineyard Place in Passaic. I just have a few questions. One, if a citizen is throwing trash out of their car, what is it, if we see it, what is it that we can do about it? Number two, can we make our city a little cleaner than what it is? Because I think that store owners should be held liable if it's trash in front of their store. Oftentimes I'm walking down Broadway and it's a mess. Walgreens, it's a mess. I have even spoken to the store owner at Walgreens. I'd rather go to the Walgreens on Van Houten and Clifton. It's a lot neater than go right here in Passaic, which is right down the street from where I live. I just think that we need to do a lot better with our city in cleaning it and holding homeowners and store owners responsible for their property. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Excellent points as usual, ma'am, and well regarded. Well, again, so much of this seems to be oriented to our police department, specifically in terms of enforcement or code enforcement in the case of commercial stores. And we'll continue to have conversations with the mayor and his administration in terms of steps that we can take, small steps, but meaningful steps to ameliorate the situation. So thank you. Anyone else like to address the council? Yes, sir.
Yes, Joe Conoscenti. Good evening. Question that the mayor brought up before. I brought in another banner this morning to the DPW, and I just dropped off tonight one of the food banners that was on Broadway. Council President, my first question here. Colonel Johnson's Park, located at 190 Harrison Street. I brought it up at the last meeting too there. Question with this property here is, I recall when I used to go down there, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but when you walk all the way in back of the park, over to the right, there's a little piece of property that's fenced in and nobody knows who it belongs to. So I want to bring that up to your attention. Maybe somebody, Fernandez, the business administrator, or somebody could look into it. My other question towards that is that it's a great idea, your plan, splash park, which they need to upgrade that area anyway. Because like I said at the last meeting, is that you used to have a lot of gang members, a lot of drug dealers, and it was really bad over there. Yeah, I would like to see all that all redone. And most of all, looking at the pictures at the last meeting, when you walk into the entrance, on the left-hand side, there's a flagpole. I would like to see the flagpole put up, the flag on there, and I would like to see a plaque put up for Colonel Johnson. Not destroying his name. That's what I would like to see there. My next question is, along the curbs, there's a lot of trees that have been taken out, never put back. I don't know if there's any programs for trees, but I like to see trees along the curbs be put back up. If possible, some funding or something for that. And my last question that I have is, all around this city, you have cars parking on the front lawn illegally. There's some, maybe a handful that's legally, they went to the boards and they got permission to do it. But there's so many of them all over the city. Can't even keep up with it. There's a listing of many of them. These are my questions I have tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Consente. Again, let me first thank you for your pushing this issue of the banners. As a result of it, and as a result of investigation by the administration and the mayor, it sounds as if we've got the best solution possible by anywhere with these new grommets and screws, whatever they are, which will allow us to have those banners flying all the time. Also appreciate your great comments about splash parks. I think many of us would argue that if we could put a splash park everywhere where there's gang infestation, we'll get rid of those gangs.
Exactly.
Absolutely sensational idea, and I think so many of our children will look forward this summer to a mini vacation in those splash. Good. Again, we thank you very much for the points that you raised. All right. Anyone else like to address the council, please?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Motion and second to close. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia, Councilwoman Colon Montañez. Yes. And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. Up to Roman numeral 7 on our agenda, ordinances for second and final reading. Proposed ordinance 2433-24. Let me first advise the council that the second and final hearing will be on February 20th. That being the case, it has been our tradition to, when it first appears correctly or not, to entertain it so that people will not be inconvenienced. So with the council's permission, proposed ordinance 2433-24, an ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons by New Jersey license plate number. The second and final reading is to be set for February 20, 2024. Is there a meeting, please, to open public discussion?
Move to open.
Motion
Second.
and second, thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez. Yes. And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anyone who would like to address the council on proposed ordinance 2433, you may do so now. You may also do so at its second and final hearing on February 20. But if you would like to speak now, we certainly entertain your comments. Seeing none at this time, also associated on February 20th, if you would like to attend the council meeting where this ordinance will be heard for second and final, we invite you to. In the meantime, seeing no hands, is there a motion, please, to close public hearing?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Is there a motion, please, to set down this proposed ordinance 2433 at a second and final meeting to be held on February 20? Is there a motion, please?
Moved.
Motion
Second.
and second, thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. We are up to communications, Roman numeral 8 on our agenda, items 2 through 7. Are there any questions, please, on items 2 through 7? Seeing no lights at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept items 2 through 7? Motion
Second.
and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. We are up to all matters to be considered routine in nature, items 8 through 15. Are there any questions, please, on 8 through 15? Seeing no lights, is there a motion, please, to accept 8 through 15?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and second, thank you. Roll call on 8 through 15.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. 16, separate vote. Is there a motion, please, to accept 16?
Move.
Motion
Second.
and second on 16 only. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Abstention.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Abstain.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. We're up to Roman numeral 9 of our agenda resolutions. Number 17 is a resolution authorizing closed executive session of the City Council to discuss pending litigation, contract negotiations, and personnel matters. Ma'am,
No, Council.
no items? Mr. Fernandez?
No, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, sir?
None at this time.
Thank you, sir. Members of the council. Seeing none on items, please, for the council's consideration, items 18 through 30. Are there any questions, please, on 18 through 30?
Yes, Council President.
Councilman Monk.
Thank you. On item 20, the contract for heating and air conditioning. In the second to last paragraph, it says that there's a lump sum, item 20. It has the lump sum of $30,000 for scheduled seasonal maintenance, and it has the standard hourly rate. Then at the end of that same paragraph, has a total contract price not to exceed $90,000.
Your concern is the disconnect, Councilman Monk?
Correct.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, so the $30,000 is for work that we already know is going to happen. So it's part of the maintenance schedule. And then the additional is for work as damages occur, items break that are out of the normal maintenance. We need to put a number to make sure this is based on previous contracts, and it's over a 3-year period. Over the last 3 years that we had the same agreement.
The
So basically,
90,000.
Hourly for the work. It's hourly for any work that's outside of your normal common maintenance, but not to exceed, I guess, the 60,000 that would be in place if like an item broke down and they needed to replace it, and the work, the labor and parts they would take to put that in.
Councilman Monk, is that satisfactory to you?
I hear. I just don't see how this reads in this resolution. It says a lump sum of 30,000 that's for scheduled seasonal maintenance.
Correct.
That's for. I'm sorry.
That's correct. So it's work that we already know that's part of the initial contract to maintain the system.
So the additional 60,000 is every year, or over 3 years.
That's a not to exceed amount.
That's the case.
Right. That's the not to exceed amount if there's an issue with the system.
The councilman asked if this was every year, Mr. Fernandez.
No, so this one is for, this one's a 1-year contract.
So it's $60,000. Is not to exceed. And what happens if a $50,000 part goes? That's also included in not to exceed $60,000. Everything, they have to maintain this regardless. Can't go over $60,000, no matter what happens.
I'm trying to understand the question.
If memory serves me right, Councilman, if it exceeds,
go back
will
to the
exceed the
council.
$90,000, it has to come back to the council for disposition.
Oh, I didn't understand that. Yes, of course.
Got it. Okay. And also, is this a company that we've been using in the past?
Yeah, so we're lucky enough that this award is to the company that actually installed it. I don't know if the council recalls, during the COVID pandemic, we received monies that were specifically for upgrading this entire system at a very significant cost. And we were lucky enough that the lowest bidder and the maintenance is the actual company that installed the entire system. So we're anticipating that we won't reach that number, but we need a gauge. We need to have a number that we can rely on not to exceed, so that we can conduct the maintenance and continual rehabilitation of the system.
Got it. Okay, fine. Thank you. On item 28.
That's 28, sir?
Yes, Council President. Resolution authorizing the grant of an access and use easement to Thor, 153 Linden Street. And the paperwork here, it doesn't lay out exactly what we're giving here. Is this a strip of, a 2-foot strip of land, or are we giving away an acre of land here in this easement? What are we doing here?
So it's actually a portion. So if I could just maybe draw a mental picture for the council. This is where Oak Street, Liberty, and Linden come together. And it's a very wide portion of the street. It's excessive for the road network that is necessary. There was an application that went before the planning board for Thor Equities that are completely redoing this old factory. They wanted to beautify the area and include an entrance to the building that would add maybe a monument, a seating area, some landscaping. If anyone's down there, you'll notice that right across the street is the electric station for PSE&G right across. It's not the prettiest site in the world, And the idea is that at their own cost, they would beautify this area that would not interfere with the road network because of the large turning radius that's at that location. So this would grant them the right to do this beautification and landscaping, but not lose the city's rights if we needed to use it for any purpose. That's why we went with an easement versus a purchase of the land. That way, if there were any engineering issues or things that we needed to address, we still had the right as a municipality. But at their own time, they would beautify that entrance to that building.
But the resolution doesn't speak to that and what their goal is to use for this piece of land. It's in the resolution. It says in the fourth paragraph, whereas the city recognizes the necessity and benefit of granting an easement to the Thor for the purpose of exclusive access, and use of a portion of the right of way from the Oak Street for the development and the use of Thor's property. It seems as we're giving an exclusive, which means if we ever want to take that back, we lose that. This resolution clearly says exclusive, and it's used for the development of their property, not to enhance, create something for public use.
So you're coming in really muffled, at least for me. So I just want
Mr. Fernandez.
right. What I understand from your question is it's exclusive for them in the fact that no other private entity can use it. But the easement, the fact that we're granting the easement always maintains our rights. That's why it's an easement. It's for their purpose to do this beautification and for their specific site plan approval that they received from the planning board. But it does not, the fact that it says that, it's not that the city loses its rights. We're granting them rights, but we maintain our rights.
Okay, and with the passing of this resolution, if they change their mind tomorrow, say, you know what, let's make our building larger, does this give them that right? Or this,
No,
they have
it's not.
Okay.
That's why we made it an easement and not a sale. If we were to sell it, they'd have to, first of all, they'd have to go back for planning board approval for their site plan because they're revising their site plan. But they would have the right to do so if this wasn't an easement. If they wanted to do what you just said based on this easement, they would have to ask us permission before they can even make that application, because now it's no longer an easement and we would lose the access rights to that area. So that's why we kept it an easement for all the reasons that you just said.
Okay, thank you. My last question has to do with resolution, sorry, resolution 29 and 30 of how do we come up with the dollar amount for this interlocal services? I mean, it's like down to the penny, down to the dollar here. It's not a round number. How is there a formula that we use to come up with these numbers?
Yeah, so basically what happens is there was a base salary and and the reason you see little cents and things like that is that what we do annually is we put a cost of living increase within that UEZ pays. That's why you see dollars and cents, but it all started as a round number that then was throughout the years with these cost of living increases so that the city would get paid based on the cost of living increases and not have to absorb that cost
Understood.
of the individuals that are being shared.
Okay, understood. I'm sorry, I appreciate, thank you for that clarity. I'm sorry, I did have one other question, and that was going back to item 22.
Councilman, if you can speak a little bit further away from your phone. It's
Oh,
very
further away.
difficult.
Is that better? Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Item 22, a resolution for emergency sanitary sewer repair. So in the notes from the engineer, he stated that we went over his estimate because of the police officer. I know we've had this conversation in the past. I don't remember what the outcome was of why are we paying for the work that needs to be done on city streets. Are we just going from one pocket to another pocket? Or can we just use an officer that's on duty, for the services of closing off a road while they're doing sanitary work or, emergency work?
So typically when it's an emergency, It's an on-duty officer, and if the emergency ceases to be an emergency, it would then be at a city rate, which is an ordinance that was recently passed by this council.
As a result of negotiations between
The
city
Right,
and
the city and the police union. That's correct, Council President. But this wasn't just for police services. There was a sinkhole that formed over the existing sewer main that added to the work. So if all it's, so let me just look and see what they wrote on there. But I'm telling you that there was additional work that was necessary because of the sinkhole forming, which might have led to additional hours by police that weren't anticipated, but the cost included additional work that was created based on the sinkhole formation.
Council President, if I may,
Mr. Mayor.
I know that the question was in terms of why don't we just assign an existing police officer? I know we had this conversation in previous meetings, and I would just like to remind the councilman and the council members, along with the residents, that once we assign a police officer to a road job, they are obligated to stay at the road job. So we have a certain number of police that we need in the city to respond to emergencies, to calls. So oftentimes, especially depending on the hour, we may call in a police officer to be exclusively assigned to a road job because they can't abandon the road job to respond to a police call. Let's say there's an alarm at a store or an issue in someone's home. So that's the reason why we don't take an officer. We staff police according to the stats that the chief receives and the needs of our community. So if you have a road job that expands, we can't necessarily afford to take 2 officers that are assigned and put them on the road because that's 2 less officers that can patrol the city or respond to calls. That's why we have 2 separate approaches to road jobs and to those that are already assigned. I just want to clarify that.
And if I may, just to read out what the council has before it. The repair of the sanitary sewer was $13,000 and the off-duty traffic control was $2,592, which came up to the $15,592 that you see before you. Just so you see how the cost broke down.
And Councilman, as you're well aware, we know this is the result of negotiations between the various police unions and municipalities throughout the state. And it's pretty much a universal number.
So then, let me just understand this. So when Delgado gives us a estimate for cost in the past that did not include police traffic control, it was always on top of it? Or
That's correct. These emergencies,
Okay.
they give us a quote for the work, and then we have to look at the job and establish what the necessary patrol is. Like the mayor stated, the police chief or whoever he assigns to that role reviews the request and the emergency. And like I said, most of the time, it starts off with maybe somebody on duty because it's an emergency, and then it morphs into whatever the job continues to be.
Like once the assessment is made, in this case, a sinkhole, and the size of the sinkhole, you may need 2 officers to close both sides of the streets. So it's really hard to estimate that that's going to happen since you're not going to know that until you assess the emergency. So once they come in and they assess if it's a sinkhole, if you have to close not just one block, it depends on what road. So a sinkhole on Dayton Avenue or Main Avenue is a little different than a sinkhole on Brinkerhoff or on Harrison because of the traffic that occurs, and then you may need 2 officers off duty. So that often occurs.
thank you.
Anything further, Councilman?
No, fine, thank you. No, thank you.
Very good. Are there any other questions, please, on the resolutions? Seeing none at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept items 18 through 30? Motion
Second.
and second, roll call, please, on 18 through 30.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia, Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Shield.
Yes, thank you. Payment of bills, item number 9.
Item
Item 31 would be nice to include also. Let's go for 31, and proposed ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons made by New Jersey license plate number. Is the motion pleased to accept for set on for second and final reading at our meeting of February 20? Motion
Second.
and second. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Now, can we do the payment of bills?
Yes, sir.
Having paid my taxes, I don't want to do the bills. Are there any questions, please, on the bills? Seeing none at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept the bills as presented by the clerk?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Administrator's report, Mr. Fernandez.
None at this time, sir.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mayor?
Council President, if I may, I just wanted to address a few things very quickly. I know you've heard them, so I just want to share with those who are here and those that are going to watch online the laws differ between sedans, cars, SUVs, and vans in terms of tinted windows. Our police are aware. Sometimes statements are made that individuals will say, I see a vehicle in the city with tinted windows, and assume that tickets aren't being given out. I can tell you that our chief will attest to the fact that many tickets are given out. But just to be clear, that there are different laws for different vehicles and sizes in terms of what can be tinted. Sorry, thank you, Madam Clerk. What can be tinted in terms of the back windows and the front windows. I also wanted to share that one of the questions that was posed was, what can you do if you witness someone littering out of a car? And what you can do, we do have an anonymous tip line to the police. You can videotape with your phone if you send it to the police, and obviously they will go through it with our attorneys, but it has happened where police have issued tickets via the mail. They will look up the license plate. In terms of egregious violations of littering or dumping, they will utilize resources like detectives to get access to cameras in the neighborhood and witness the dumping, and then they will go after the individuals in terms of the license plate. So we would encourage everyone to report whenever they witness dumping in our city. In terms of how we address it, we have a program called Clean Sweep. Clean Sweep occurs throughout the year in different locations where code, police, DPW will go to different areas. They will give out violations. They will clean the area themselves. And we've been doing this for well over 6 years straight. I know that the statement was made, and I won't go into detail, but I've gone to other municipalities, and I know that the commercial areas in one city may be worse, and then one week they clean and they look better. I try not to juxtapose our city to others, but I will share that many violations are given out to store owners, and I agree. The store owners must be held accountable, but I don't accept the premise that they're not being held accountable, because we receive the violations, our code goes out, and they go to court. We have had some repeat offenders, Council President, City Council, and we continue to send out code and give out the violations. But I would like to add, and I know that the Urban Enterprise Zone had come up. One of the best initiatives through the Urban Enterprise Zone is our DMC. Our DMC program, which is the Downtown Merchants Corporation. That's where we hire individuals to clean up the sidewalks, clean up the streets. They go out there, and we've been able to expand it this year, so there will be an additional presence, and we've expanded to the length of all of Main Avenue. So we'll be able to address areas from Terhune all the way to Highland. So we're extremely excited this year. Now, it is a seasonal thing, so we will share that there are more individuals out there in the spring and the summer than the winter. The winter becomes a challenge because of the temperatures, because of the snow, because of the wind. Oftentimes you can clean up one day, and then the very next day gets filled with cardboard or litter, but we will remain vigilant and share with our DPW. And then I just wanted to share that as of today, and Council President and City Council, I know we're always excited to share this, we planted over 700 new trees over just the last 3 years. We're extremely excited about additional trees all over the city. We continue to invest in trees. Our DPW orders the trees. We receive grants for trees, but sometimes unique situations, residents donate trees. they want to volunteer to plant a tree, our DPW do it and they dedicate it for something. We have a list of trees that you're allowed to plant so we can be consistent, especially since in the wisdom of this council, an ordinance was passed that trees could only be planted if they grow to a certain height because of storms and down trees that were taking out electrical lines. But I do want to share that with the public because I think it is of great benefit to our communities. And then lastly, in terms of the parking in front of homes, I know that we have zoning boards. We have boards that consider whether a front lawn can be turned into a driveway. And sometimes while people are putting in the application and we consider issues of parking, they may get a little zealous, enthusiastic, but we will respond obviously with our code and our police. But there is an opportunity, of course, to put in when an individual wants to transition their front lawn into a parking space. With that said, that's the extent of my report. Thank you, Council President, City Council members.
Thank you so much, Mayor. With the council's permission, Councilman Schwartz?
If the city, just as a comment on that, the fact that we put in 700 trees, awesome. If we're actually looking to encourage people to donate trees, perhaps our website should make some reference to it, that it's something that we have available and you get a plaque on it and whatever.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Right now, we have it on the website, but it's not on the front page. So we're going to reach out to IT to see if they can do it. And I think it's such a wonderful act, and it's a beautiful way to remember a loved one or to honor a memory in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilman Schwartz. With the council's permission, there being no business properly advertised before this council, is the motion to adjourn at this time. Motion and second to adjourn. Roll call to adjourn.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia, Councilwoman Colon Montañez. Yes. The Council President Shear.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.